Welcome back. As you begin exploring graduate school, you'll quickly realize that even though we often talk about graduate school as though it's a single entity, you actually have a variety of different options as a graduate student. In this video, we're going to introduce you to some of the most common types of graduate degrees, and then talk about some terminology that will help you explore your options. Let's start by taking a look at types of graduate degrees. I like to start out by distinguishing between graduate school and professional school. When we talk about graduate school, we're most commonly talking about master's degrees and the PhD. This is in contrast to what you would consider the professional degrees, things like veterinary medicine, law, medical doctor, a PharmD. In professional school, you're going to become a practitioner rather than a researcher. And so if you're interested in becoming a medical doctor, a lawyer, a doctor of veterinary medicine, then you have to go to professional school. Generally, less funding is available in these fields, with the idea being that once you graduate, you'll be stepping into a very well-paid profession, and you'll be able to pay back any student loans that you had to take out. And it is required if that is your career goal. If you want to become a medical doctor, then you have to go to med school, and then you have to pass the appropriate boards and licensing exams and everything that goes along with that. But these are professions that if that is your goal, then you need to be going to a professional school designed for that profession. You can also consider joint professional and graduate degree programs. The MD PhD is one common one that we do offer here at Purdue. In our biomedical engineering program, you can get a PhD in biomedical engineering as well as an MD to become both a practicing medical doctor as well as a researcher. And these types of joint programs, they're very intense, as you can imagine, but they also really prepare individuals well who are interested both in being able to apply what they learn in a practice as well as being able to do research while they are a practicing professional. Typically, you will need to apply to a specialized professional school rather than a graduate school if one of these is the field that you're interested in. On the other side, when we start looking at what we call the graduate school degrees, one of the first types, of course, is the master's degree. And there are a lot of different types of master's degrees out there, starting with the Master of Arts, Master of Science, a couple of the most common. And then you can also get more specific degrees like the Master of Science in Engineering or just the Master of Engineering. As you start exploring different master degree options, you'll encounter a lot of different types of master's degrees, different types of abbreviations. And so I'll throw the etc. up there as well. A lot of different options for you out there under master's degree. Most of them, however, are going to fall under two broad categories. And these fall under either the non-thesis or the course-based. This is where the master's program is really relying on the classes that you take. There may be special projects that you do. In fact, there often are special projects that you're doing towards the end of your master's program, but there's usually not a specified research project. Whereas a thesis or a research-based master's degree, that thesis is a major component of your degree. In addition to taking classes, you're also taking credit hours where the research that you're doing is counting towards credit towards your degree. And then you write up the results of your research in what we call a thesis, a very large paper that summarizes your research. There's also a couple of what I call special subcategories of master's degrees that you may encounter. The first of these is a professional master's. These are typically non-thesis. They're usually course-based degrees, and the courses that you take usually also include what we would call some professional courses. These are commonly MBA classes. They may be special regulatory type classes, and the goal of these professional master's programs is to blend some of the technical knowledge from your discipline with something that we would call more professional. So management classes, regulatory compliance classes, different types of certifications, things like that that will prepare you to take that degree out into either industry, government, nonprofit, and apply that knowledge. Most cases, these are degrees that are preparing you for more of an industry track career. These are typically self-funded. These may be accelerated programs. You can find some professional master's programs that are just 12 to 18 months long. Others may be a couple years long, but they have a built-in internship or co-op opportunity in the summer between the 2 academic years. These are often a terminal degree. And what we mean by a terminal master's degree is that these degrees do not prepare you to go on for a PhD. The expectation when you come into these professional master's degrees is that you will earn that master's and then you will go out and work. There are, however, other types of terminal master's degrees in addition to these professional masters. And so I wanted to list a few examples here. The MBA, MPH, MFA, these are also all considered terminal master's degrees. In these specific disciplines, this is typically as high as you will go as far as your degree goes. Once you earn one of these degrees, there typically is not a PhD track after them. You have gone as far as you need to in those disciplines. And so those are considered terminal master's degrees. Just a quick summary of terms, because I just threw several of them at you here. So non-thesis, again, this is that course-based master's degree versus a thesis, which is a research-based master's degree. Professional masters are when you're combining some of those more professional type courses along with the technical courses in your discipline. And then the terminal masters means that you are not planning to go on for a PhD. And I would call these different categories of master's degrees. As you're exploring different options, learning more about different programs that are out there, you'll find different degrees that kind of fit in these different categories. But the actual degree may fall into one or more of these categories. So what do I mean by that? So if we just use civil engineering as an example, here are 4 different types of degrees that you may see. There could be more that you see out there as well, but here's 4 common ones that a program may offer for a master's degree when you are interested in studying civil engineering. Now, any of these degrees may be a thesis degree where you're doing research, or they may also be a non-thesis degree where you're not doing research. There's no set definition or standardization across universities of how these different degrees are used. And so this is something that's important to understand when you're exploring different options. A Master of Science versus a Master of Engineering may mean slightly different things to different universities. Okay. Here at Purdue University, we use what we call the named degrees currently. So in civil engineering, you would earn a Master of Science in civil engineering. That's the degree type that you get when you pursue civil engineering here at Purdue at the master's level. Now I'll give you just a little bit of Purdue trivia, partially just because this is kind of interesting, and partially it may kind of help show kind of the lack of standardization, I guess, or some of the interesting ways that universities can use these degrees. So previously here at Purdue, we actually offered all 3 of these different degrees. So if you were coming to study civil engineering, all 3 of these degrees were options. And the master's program that you studied was going to be the same, regardless of which of these degrees you got. The distinguishing factor was actually what you earned your bachelor's degree in. So if you did your bachelor's degree in a non-engineering discipline, so if you came from mathematics, physics, over to civil engineering, then you got the Master of Science. If you studied an engineering but a non-civil engineering, so maybe you studied mechanical engineering as an undergraduate and then came over, then you would get the Master of Science in engineering. And if your undergraduate degree was also in civil engineering, then when you came and did the master's program, then you got the Master of Science in civil engineering. So this is a little bit confusing, and the actual program requirements at the master's level were identical. The only thing that determined what degree you got was the level or the type of discipline that you studied at the bachelor's level. And so we ended up doing away with this, simplified everything, and as I mentioned before, now at Purdue we just have the 1 degree for the Master of Science in Civil Engineering. So just a little bit of Purdue trivia for you, but just to give you an example of how universities may use these degrees in different ways, but the actual degree requirements may not be any different. So that's just something to be aware of as you're looking at different options out there. So some good questions to ask then as you're exploring master's options. First, of course, what master's degrees are offered? And as I mentioned several times now, the actual degree offered, one is not necessarily better than the other, but it's important to know what are those options and what are the requirements of those options. You want to know if the master's degree has both a thesis and a non-thesis option. And as you determine your path, whether you're interested in going a research route or if you're interested in just taking classes and finishing up your master's degree quickly, then knowing what those options are is important. And then definitely knowing whether or not this particular master's degree is considered a terminal degree. If you are thinking about going on for the PhD, or you want to at least leave that door open as a possibility, then you definitely want to know whether or not this master's degree is a terminal degree. You don't want to pursue a terminal degree if you ultimately may want to go on for the PhD. So let's jump over then and take a look at the different types of doctoral degrees. And the PhD is by far the most common type of doctoral degree that you will find here at US institutions. And there's really two main categories that we'll talk about here in the next slides: the master's first or the direct PhD. But there are also some other types of doctorates that you will find out there, things like the Doctor of Engineering, Doctor of Education. You'll see these a little bit more commonly at international universities. They are less common at US institutions, although you are starting to see them more here in the States. Sometimes these other types of doctorates have a less of a research component to them than the PhD, but that is not always the case. And so similar to the situation with the master's degrees, where they can mean kind of different things to different universities, these different types of named doctorates can also mean slightly different things to different universities. And so you do want to understand how a particular university is handling their degrees before you really decide, okay, this is the direction I want to go. Within the PhD program, as I said, by far the most common doctorate level degree that you'll find here in the US, one option is to do a master's degree first. And some programs may require that you do a master's degree first. Others may give you the option of doing a master's or going to direct PhD, which we're going to talk about next. The advantage of doing a master's degree first is that you can gain additional experience before going on for the PhD. You get a little bit more research experience if you're doing a thesis master's, start to get a sense of what the requirements are, how to become a researcher so that you're ready to jump into that more rigorous PhD research. You can also earn an extra degree along the way. Some people really like that. Some people it doesn't matter. Once you have the PhD, it doesn't really matter what you did along the way to get there. That's the final degree you can get. But others like having that master's degree in their pocket as well. And it is an opportunity to change programs or change universities. And so if you are getting a master's degree first, then you often will have the opportunity to stay with that program and continue on for your PhD. But if you want to apply to other universities, other programs, or maybe you really like the general program where you are, but you want to change research topics, you can do that when you're transitioning from master's to PhD. Depending on the type of university that you are pursuing your master's degree, some of the smaller colleges and smaller universities may not offer a PhD in your field, so maybe they only offer up to the master's degree, and so you earn the master's degree there and then apply to other universities for the PhD. The other type of PhD program that you'll find out there is what we call the direct PhD. And this is, as the name implies, you enter the PhD directly from the bachelor's degree. So you kind of skip over that master's step. You either don't earn a master's at all, or you may earn what they call a pass-through master's, which means that you come in as a PhD student, and as you work toward that PhD degree, you earn a master's along the way. Sometimes that will be a non-thesis master's because you're working towards your PhD And the courses that you're taking those first couple years of your PhD then make up that master's. And so you earn that master's and then start your PhD research after that. If you are looking at a direct PhD program, they may have stricter admission criteria, and this makes sense because some individuals coming into that PhD program are going to already have a master's degree, and so comparing somebody coming from a bachelor's degree with somebody that already has a master's degree, the expectations are a little bit higher. They expect that you have had some research experience, and they will sometimes have a higher GRE or GPA requirement if your program requires those. It may be slightly faster to pursue a direct PhD, but this is not always the case. Some people will come in thinking, I want to go direct PhD because I just want to get through as quickly as possible. The direct PhD is not always a faster route. This is especially true because the credits that you earn for a master's degree, many of them can be applied toward the PhD. And also, when you're earning a master's degree along the way, you're gaining that additional research experience during your master's program so that by the time you get to the PhD, you're that much more prepared. You can go that much more quickly through your program. In general, I always say that if you're not sure, start with a master's if that is an option. And when I say if that is an option, it's because different disciplines do handle this process differently. There are some here in engineering, chemical engineering, biomedical, materials engineering. All of those tend to focus their student toward the PhD program. And so they don't recommend you start with a master's. They are really expecting students that are coming out of their undergraduate degree to jump right into the PhD. That's the culture of those programs. And so you'll encounter that. You'll encounter some programs where the culture or the expectation is, we do direct PhDs here. You come in as an undergraduate, this is your cohort, you're all in this together, go straight for the PhD. But then there are other programs that either require you to do a master's first or give you that option. And if you have the option, it can be a really nice way to start, is to start with that master's degree, gives you a couple of years to try it out. If you decide, this isn't for me, then you've got that master's degree that you can launch your career with. And if you decide, hey, this is awesome, I want to keep going, then you do. So just to conclude the presentation here, we'll do a quick comparison of the master's versus the PhD. Here at Purdue, it's 30 credits for a master's degree and 90 credits for a PhD. Of those 90 credits, you can use 30 from the master's degree. And so when I said that if you're doing a master's first, that's not always slower. It's because those credits that you're earning from your master's program, up to 30 of them, can apply toward the PhD. And this is fairly standard. This is an example from Purdue, but other universities are going to be pretty similar to this. They might be a little bit different, but pretty similar. On the master's side, there are those two main options of either doing a thesis, which is more of a research-based, or a non-thesis, which is courses only. On the PhD side, however, the research is absolutely required. There's the expectation that you are going to produce a dissertation, which is a written document about your research, and that is really the intention of a PhD degree, is to have that research component. Master's degree is going to be 1 to 3 years. The 1 to 2 years is going to be more for the non-thesis or those professional masters, some of those accelerated programs that are designed to get you out quickly and out into industry. Whereas the 2 to 3 years is more typical if you're doing more of a research-based master's program. On the PhD side, you're looking at 3 to 7 years. If you're already coming in with a master's degree, then you're going to be at the shorter end of that range. If you don't have a master's degree, you'll probably be a little bit more at the longer end of that range. Will also really vary depending on the type of research you do and how quickly you yourself get through that research. And when you're looking at the career opportunities from these two different types of degrees, on the master's level, master's degrees are really intended to help you specialize a little bit more in a particular area compared to a bachelor student. And so the types of positions that you move into are those that are expecting that you have a little bit more expertise in whatever this technical field is that you're pursuing your degree in. There may be some research, particularly if you've done a thesis master's, then those more research-oriented type positions start to open up for you. And a lot of individuals with master's degrees go into management, supervisory type positions. On the PhD side, you're looking more at those careers in research and development. And so if you love that discovery and that adventure of research, then the PhD is going to prepare you for careers in that area. Certainly leadership roles, individuals with PhDs are the ones that step into those types of positions. And obviously academic positions. If you are interested in becoming a professor, then the PhD is definitely the degree you want to look at to prepare you for an academic career. So this summarizes the rundown of the different types of graduate degrees, the two most common types of the master's and the PhD degrees. In the next couple of videos, we're going to take another look separately at master's degrees and PhDs and what the requirements are for these in a little bit more depth. So stay tuned and we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes.